Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
Yeah. Young Satoshi. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We go to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We going to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. My ETH costs more than your rent. I spend my life savings, get a 10. Dragons get the hottest coming next. Me and Joe Rose making bets. All this shit seem new to me. Mix a blockchain with security. Keeping data safe is the fluency. How could you not fuck with the company?
Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A lair owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community lair. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their lair. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
All right, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky, the Dragonchain Update Show. This is episode 1x12b, that's 0x12b, and it's the 299th weekly episode with AMA. Reminder, nothing on this show is ever financial advice, and stay tuned after the updates for an AMA. So first up in Dragonchain updates, this week's distribution for this show's lot NFT governance tokens was 780 lot. There were two questions for 274 lot each. The host received 195 lot, and Dragonchain received 195 lot. Next update from Dragonchain, of course, the case was dropped with prejudice. So everyone has seen, and I will throw up the actual post. If you haven't, please do read through this. It's worth a read. It's worth sharing to anyone either in the industry or who has questioned your support for the 7 years that we've gone through this. That it is quite a victory. It's not even been a week yet, and it is. I don't think it's still set in, at least psychologically, with me and with a lot of the people who've been dealing with this up front over these years. That we understand what's in front of us, and we understand what is necessary and what is coming, but it's still, it happened so fast. And it happened, pretty much without much fanfare, frankly. And they did that on purpose. I mean, it's almost obvious too. They, Greg joked about if they were really embarrassed about it, that they would have a Friday release, and of course they did. and it, you know, I think they do that on purpose. You know, the way the news cycles used to work. It's, you know, a little different now, but it still does have some effect, having a weekend in between. So there is a lot that is going to come, and I will tell you with these things, that it, it usually takes longer than you think, especially if you are the one who's really paying attention and cares a lot about something like this. You know, you want things to move really fast, and yet things don't work like that. It takes a while for people to process it. It takes a while for people to even hear about some things like this. And, you know, we're not I'm not someone that Elon Musk retweets, right? So it'll take a little longer for this type of news to get out there. It is very important, though, and you know, we can maybe talk about what's next. I will say a couple of things, though, that to all of you people out there, all of you Dragon Knights, all of the people in the Dragon Chain community, the family that have stuck with us. We will remember. We do know who you are. We recognize some of the pain that you've had to go through, in crypto Twitter for supporting Dragon Chain all these years, and we want your input in what's to come. You know, if you see an opportunity that we don't recognize or that we haven't spoken about, bring it up, even if it's in a DM or a message to info@dragonchain.com. You can DM me on X. You can make posts, obviously, in Den that will get direct attention, and they'll either be included in this show, in the roundtable, in DenDAO. And in DenDAO, you can ask stuff about Den and about Dragon Chain related to that as well. And there'll be a show on this afternoon, a DenDAO meeting, not a show, a meeting. Sorry, but either way, know that we recognize that persistence, and that's the thing. That's the one thing that it was. In my past experience, I haven't had the opportunity to test something like persistence in this great a way that in the past I've never had that opportunity. I haven't ever had. I've had plenty of challenges and monsters to slay in my past career. And I've had a lot of interesting things happen, and I've learned a lot, but never have I had a 7-year battle of attrition with the most powerful, and some would say the most evil entity in the history of the earth, right? So, and I'm not saying the SEC is the most evil. I'm just saying for certain the U.S. government is the most powerful government in the history of our planet, and it's kind of a scary thing when they come after you, and you probably, maybe many of you have had something similar, but you can't imagine the amount of anxiety when you're trying to do something valid. You're trying to do something that is good and honest and real, right? In the world, something that and you believe is needed in the world, right? And to have then your own government come after you for something that doesn't, and professionally, and let's say as an engineer or as a professional in whatever sphere you are in, that what you're doing is right. That what you're doing is for good and moral and ethical reasons. And in fact, in our case, we specifically sought to make sure that we were going above and beyond in our pursuit of, making our rollout the most fair possible, the to make it an organic thing that would bring people in a way that they feel in a community that they're participating. And the SEC, they don't typically haven't dealt with something that would be similar to an open source project rolling out. And the issue was that our open source project intersected with things that the bankers really get how do I want to even say this? Anyway, it in their territory, right? And so they came after us, and that that kind of blew my mind a little bit, quite a bit. And it took quite a while. And what's even worse is when you then go to you take the best advice that you can get. You look at our list of advisors back at the beginning. We had people like Jeff Garzik. We had people like Matt Rozek, who they'd been in crypto a long time. We had people like Tom Bush, the former assistant director FBI. He ran the largest division of the FBI for years. I think he had a $2 billion budget or something. And he's a good friend. And we had people like that as advisors, really high level. And yet when we go and we do, okay, let's go find the best law firm we can to do this. And then you realize now, what I learned now is that threw us further into the hole, because that law firm, in fact, the first two big law firms that we had, of the big ones, they weren't the first two we had, so don't make any mistake there if any of you are listening. The first two thought they were too small, so they kind of they said, yeah, you should get a bigger firm that can handle something like this. Those first two firms actively sought to end us, and I have suspicions about some of the reasons for that. Part of it was that they were plugged into the system, so it's you could look it up. I've talked about it a few times before. It's a revolving door. You have anybody who is a bureaucrat in an agency like the SEC. They don't make much money compared to other colleagues their age and with their experience. They don't make much money in that position. They probably make more money than maybe they should, but they don't make much money in that position, and they want to get out. They want a position with thousands of dollars an hour billing rate at one of these big firms. And so they churn, they find opportunities to make a name for themselves, to check the boxes, and when you have something like Dragonchain #1 standing out as a, clear, with a clear pedigree, we had Disney, in our history, we had some really clear technology advantages, and we had a lot of attention. You look at how many people were really paying attention to Dragonchain at the time, and separately you had articles, and you can look up for the contemporaneous articles that were being put out. Several of them talked about Dragonchain, not from our words at all, as the Ethereum killer, or is it the Ethereum killer? And they, there's even one that had a little silly graphic of two people fencing, or at least sword fighting in some way, which maybe there are even more meetings than that. But I have to think that some of the VCs, you think about it, they have billions of dollars. They've put money into this one network, and there's another that's coming along, and and it's not a crazy thing. I don't need to go get any tinfoil to put atop my head to think this, that you have the SEC admitted to having been taking advice or treating people in that organization, which is primarily not an engineering organization, but was an investment organization. It was people from, let's just say, people from Goldman Sachs and similar venture firms, if that's the right word, that they were actually advising the SEC in who to look at. And if you don't think that when our name was coming up as a threat to them, again, not from my words, because it would be quite the opposite from my words, is and you can see what we've done through time. We've worked with Ethereum and Bitcoin and other chains voluntarily without any help from them. We've never gotten a grant from them. We've never gotten support from them, but their leadership, and not in the Ethereum Foundation per se, maybe it was, but I don't know, the part of the consensus and that group where it's more than anything an investment group, that they were advising the SEC to who to go after. So if you don't think that it's even plausible that happened, that they said, oh, you need to look at these guys, and I tell you the reason why, because when they came in, they didn't come in saying, hey, you guys did XYZ, you did ABC, right? What they did is they said, hey, we it's very, very vague, and some of that is so that they can ask for more, they can drain more. They knew with DLA Piper and Perkins Coie, they knew how much we were spending hourly. They knew if they could call meetings without us even knowing, they would call our high-priced attorneys on the fly without us knowing about it. We would get the bill anyway. We spent millions and millions and millions of dollars doing that. And you think about how crazy it is. And I'm an engineer, and I'm a technical CEO. I'm wanting to run a startup. It would be perfectly fine in a free world, in a country that doesn't hate its citizens, right? But it doesn't work here. So we learned that. We went to another big firm because we saw the first one. I was actually on a call that I accidentally got an invite to, right? I didn't know. So I show up on the call. I'm muted. I'm just listening. And I see that these guys are probably getting, I don't know what it was. It was probably $2,500 or $3,500 an hour. Might have been more. And our lead guy, after I took an entire afternoon putting together full, comprehensive, detailed answers in request to their query. So they had this query which was super broad. It was, we want to know all of your bank accounts. We want to know where you hold all your crypto. We want to know who your employees are. They wanted to know everything. They wanted to know every employee's entire Telegram, and they had them all by name, right? So that we had to, get all that together. So I'm on this call, and first of all, I noticed that he's extremely sheepish. He's not going in there representing us with confidence, which is what I would have expected, because we didn't do anything wrong. We had a model. It had a patent on it. We knew that what we had was a utility software token with a unique model, and a lot of things beyond that too for the tech. And he was in there, his voice was cracking, and he was all, it was pretty pathetic. First of all, I won't say his name. And then I realized some of the more important sections of what I had provided, he skipped over. He never even answered them, even though, here we are paying for his time anyway. Why is he not answering them what I produced in direct response to the question that they gave? He would read the first sentence, or sometimes some sections, it would be as if we didn't even answer that question. And you have to wonder, is that incompetence? Is that just a lack of, well, it's definitely a lack of integrity, but it's pretty disgusting. And so we fired them. as DLA Piper, we went to Perkins Coie, and Perkins Coie, at first I thought they were much better because one of the guys I had actually spoken at an event in Seattle, he was there too. I'd met him. He had done a lot of work researching all of the different countries and states and everything else to figure out what you could properly do in crypto and keep things clean. And we went to them. So, and you know, he's a nice guy, definitely very, very smart. And with them, I mean, multiple things. We spent $80,000 putting together a delivery for the SEC on all of our Telegram. So it's essentially, okay, here's everything we've ever spoken in the official channels, my personal channels, some of the, like the marketing people's personal channels, things like that, and DMs, everything. Spent 80 grand doing that because they told us, oh, it has to be an independent thing put together. And of course, they were the ones who found the independent entity, and they charged us 80 grand to do this, which if anybody's ever exported Telegram, it takes a while because Telegram has some security pieces to it that are well intentioned, but it's nothing that would cost you 80 grand ever. It would never cost you 80 grand to do something like that. And so we did it because we thought, well, if them's the rules, okay, we did it. They came back later, might have been 8 months or a year later. They asked several of the same questions. I don't know if they forgot it at the SEC. I don't know why. Generally, probably, and from experience, it looks like they just did it to cause us to drain more funds. But they come back with the same questions, and I tell Art, they come, it's like, we need to do this again. And I was like, we've already done that. Now, if you want the latest stuff, sure, we could do that. But, there's nothing in this channel or that channel because we haven't spoken to that group anymore, so on. And I said, why don't you just pull the old stuff, see what's different, and then we'll, then we can see what it'll cost to produce the delta. And come to find out, they had lost it. They lost what we spent $80,000. This is a major, what they call a white shoe law firm, lost an $80,000. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Are you holding any of this evidence? Do you know where anything is? Do I need to go to somebody's house and empty some drawers or something? How does this even happen? And, we ended up getting rid of them. Right. And so we find someone, in fact, it was recommended from Nicolo at Look Lateral. We found David Otto, who did a bang up job, outstanding job, did some, amazing work. And I think he was more philosophically aligned with us. He doesn't mess around. He's really serious. And Greg, and, Greg is a former attorney, and, Greg from World Blockchain Roundtable, who's brilliant and was instrumental in in these final days at helping me maintain the confidence, and also using new tools, using AI to help us answer some questions and find some things that we wouldn't have found otherwise. So anyway, there's a massive amount of stuff that went into that, and I just want you guys to know, we know this just happened, and we've been preparing for this for years with slow building. And in this, what's next is some of the most important stuff that we've put together ever. I mean, I think some of these might very well be bigger than Dragonchain itself. And that would be, Dracaria. It's so close, and yet it has to be, doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be so solid that we're not going to have a failure. We're not going to have issues, and we're getting there. It's super, super close. I mean, all we have right now are little details, things that you find when you plug everything in together. And I tell you, if you haven't read up on that, if you haven't read the white paper yet, please do. It's, I think my greatest work that I've ever done. And I think that some of the things that are going to come out of it beyond beyond the dragons that we're putting out themselves are going to be extremely, extremely important for the world and for Dragonchain and for all of you out there. Asylum is came up out of nowhere, and you will have more info on it shortly. There should be some really interesting things that we will be able to announce on that. I think it'll be in the next couple of weeks. We had there was a family event. One of the team members that we might be delayed. We were hoping to get something out this week, but it might be next week or the week after. But it will be very soon. Eternal.report. We've talked about that for a while. You know what it is, and that it was used by tons of people until X decided to change their bot policy. That right now their bot policy is not scalable. That if we turned this on, it would cost us a fortune, and it's a free service. So they really should have some way to allow that. And otherwise, this model is going to hopefully fix that. That we have a couple of things that relate to archival that are going to be important in the expansion of the services available on Eternal.report. There might even be hardware involved. It's going to be really interesting stuff. Deplatform is the thing that we've been toying with in the background, trying to figure out if we can get the right amount of commitment. We're pretty confident we're going to get the commitment we need. We don't know for certain the timeline on it, but we're hoping to get the white paper in draft form out very shortly. My goal is next week, so we'll see how that goes. There's still a little left to do, and it will be draft form, but what we want to do is start to get feedback so that everybody out there can start figuring out what it means for Den, what it means for the future, because this, I think, has solved this model that we're looking at has solved a lot of the issues that we've had with Den on adoption and on even on the tokens themselves and how they are traded and how the ownership works on the layers. So there's some super, I'm not joking, some of the stuff in there, it all just makes sense. None of it is even that you have to make some huge leap conceptually. It is very close to what Den is, with a couple of features added and a couple of things reconstituted, or it's a rethinking of what Den is and how the ownership, the channel or layer now ownership works. That some of that has been a little stagnant because we've relied on export to Ethereum, where all of a sudden now all the fees are far more expensive than they would be otherwise. So anyway, there's a lot of very interesting stuff there. So pay attention to that. Dex is going to be a place we center. They've been there are a few businesses and partners that have been loyal to the extreme, and Look Lateral with Dex is one of them. They've never disappointed, even when I fully I've told the one story that they had an investor ready to give them much needed capital, at least over $1 million. I don't remember what the number was, but they required, and you imagine this, because of the SEC case, they required them to drop Dragonchain and to use a different blockchain. And Nicolo told me that we were in person, in fact, at the Consensus conference in New York, whatever year that was, that we had our event there. And he tells me that, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I was trying to figure out, okay, we need to, all right, at least figure out how to announce this, if there's some way we could work together in the future or whatever else. But, I understand it. You have to get the capital. And he's like, oh, no, we already turned it down. So, I mean, I was just like, I was kind of floored. I never expect that amount of loyalty from someone. You're talking million, it's $1 million+ dollars. That could give you what you need to build what you have to build. And when someone is so loyal as that, never forget it, right? It's amazing. And I'll do anything for them ever, but they've built a real amazing system with DEX, and it all runs on Dragonchain. And their smart contracts that run their liquidity pools are like none other. There's no other platform out there that can do what they can do. They can directly model traditional legal or regulatory requirements into their smart contracts or into their liquidity pools, right? And that's an amazing thing. And I think they've barely tapped the surface of that. We've not really seen what they're going to be able to do, and they're out building business and getting things going. Humane intelligence and behavior tech. We're going to have something out, and I won't talk to you about formats or anything yet, but the main goal with this is to get the concepts out there in a way and in a format and a vessel that people can understand them, and then to get the tooling place that they can use them. And we're still working on how this is going to go out on the business side, but we know on the conceptual and the technical side how it will roll out. So there's some really good stuff there. And then, of course, the Dragonchain incubator, and we're trying to figure out how to bring this back in because we don't want to do it too quickly, because it is how do I say this? It will move fast. Anything like that, we saw when we first rolled it out in 2018, I believe, 2017, 2018, that we, within a month and a half, we had 400 and then over 500 applications. And I tell you, I was surprised. I expected, okay, we have 500. Most of them are going to be, little stupid things or someone just, throwing something, a silly idea into it or something. But I can't tell you, I was very surprised at the number of the projects that came in that were legitimate. Some of them had operational pieces already. Some of them were established businesses. They were very real. And all that went away when the SEC came in, and you can see too. Go watch the Open Source Money, the segment where they go and interview all of the very legitimate technology businesses that were onboarded and mentioned in our business plan when we rolled out in 2017. And the SEC went in and, I would say threatened, but I don't want it to sound like they, that they, were yelling at them or anything, but they, anybody who comes into this and just has a small, business, or even in some of these cases, they weren't even businesses yet. They hadn't established. They were projects that were trying to get the infrastructure in place. And when the SEC calls you and demands that you fly to Chicago to have a sit down meeting with them, probably with a bright light in your face, good cop, bad cop style and everything. And, some of these people is like, well, you want me to fly to Chicago? I mean, are you paying for that, or how does that work? Right. Some of them had to do it on the phone. It's just craziness. And of course, we let, all of those projects know they're free to just say, oh, okay, we're not doing it. Right. Because they don't have the, none of these people have the senators for fathers, or similar type family connections. So they all opted out. They all had to drop, right? So now if we launch it, we would expect something similar, and we would expect that there will be, a real, a real interesting outcome there. And you don't even know some of the stuff that we had planned for that, we were rolling out the first few. Look Lateral went through. We had to roll back one of them because our early legal said we had to, and they were freaking out about it. So like, okay, you guys know, I'm no lawyer. And so you see what happened and why they did it. They did it to essentially destroy us. And surprise, surprise, it didn't work. When Perkins Coie brought in, we thought they were bringing in new business. We thought, hey, they had an idea to either bring in new funding or a partnership that would work, right? And we're thinking, hey, if they bring in a partnership, they bring in some ability, we'll be able to keep paying them, right, instead of shutting them off. And so we thought it was that. They had 12 people there. I have no idea what they were going to try to bill us. And you know what this meeting was for? It wasn't to bring in some, we have the plan, we have the idea to win, we have the idea to here's how we make enough revenue to keep going while we're trying to figure out how to win. No, it was literally an unrequested meeting where they were telling us how and why we needed to spin down and shut down Dragonchain. And this was in 2019, 2020, right? So you think about that. It was disgusting. And I'm like, it took me even a little while to be as angry as I should have been right at the beginning, that wasn't in the plan. The plan is not to shut down. The plan is not to give up. The plan is not to, to fall prey to these freaking demons. And so, we fired them in time and we hit somebody else. And I didn't talk about the patent portfolio. We are going to be doing that. And the reason that I even bring that back is because that will be on DEX, and it does have all the regulatory stuff matched up as it needs to be in Europe. I don't know all the details yet on that, but anything that we're doing, including deplatform, is going to be tied to DEX. And yes, it is that same firm. And there's a lot of other stuff that we didn't know about in the early days. So anyway, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. So that's the update. And do go and read this, because even in the word of thanks, we do thank all of you. And we need to move forward, and we need to keep going. And there's a lot of important stuff. We have a lot of things that we need to do in the world, right? So anyway, that's it sorry for the long case update. I need to get off here quick so that we can get over to the round table. But thanks for listening to me, and just be patient. Know that we're doing everything we can, and don't despair, right? I mean, I know I tend to be very, very negative. You guys watch me on Roundtable, you know that. I tend to see the bad much sooner than I might need to, right? So try to think positively and think of the positive things we can do to build things in the future. Don't sit around and wait for us to do it. If something needs to be done, do it. Ask as much as you want. I will give you information if you need it. I've had people send me documents this past week asking me to fill out details. I don't mind that. I tell you, I don't mind it at all, even when there's a lot of it, because it's important. And I appreciate that so many of you out there are doing things proactively, independently. Don't fall for the stupid paid shills out there on crypto Twitter that try to make fun of Dragonchain or any of that stuff. We all know they're idiots. It's not, that's no secret. if you're in traders group, some of them are negative sometimes. It's like, whatever, have fun, it's all good. Don't fall for any of that. Keep moving. And and some of this is, it might take longer than we want. It might take longer than we expect. But it'll happen. And in time, especially when Dracaria and or deplatform comes out, and some of these other things, it'll get more attention, and it'll bring attention to us, to Dragon, and we'll have a better future. So anyway, we appreciate it, everything you've done so far. It's been 7 years, and some people have aren't as active now. We still love you. Come back anytime. We really appreciate that you were here in the past. But do everything you can, and let us know if you need any help doing it. All right. So it was dropped with prejudice, and the future is pretty obviously bright. It's going to be a really crazy time in the future. So just get ready. Be ready. Okay. So Den.Social updates. There's a DenDAO update today, May Day, May 1st. Be there, be square. Hopefully I can be on there. I'm going to try to be on there. I couldn't last week, and it kind of depends on a couple of things today, but I will try to be on there. But either way, the Emperor will be there, and that's all you actually need. So if you have any questions, any comments, you can either click on the link and join the meeting directly. You don't have to have your camera on, or you can post a comment, a reply, which would have, how would I say, questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, blah, 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 whatever you'd want to put on there. All right. Okay. Next, we go to the World Blockchain Roundtable update. Last week's update, is this right? Yes. Modularity in blockchain. I was there. It was a good show. There were really good questions, and really good answers. It's a good panel, right? And today, so make sure you watch that. There's still time. And today is campaigns accepting public or private crypto donations, episode 206. Again, the first ever DAO-based podcast in the world is still running after 206 episodes. It works. It's amazing. Get in there and ask a question while you still can. There are only 2 questions, so there's opportunity to get some ownership there. Okay, next we go to Dracaria update, and like I said before, Dracaria is crazy close to getting rolled out. We still are debugging little bitty things on the interactions between the web system, the genetics and spawning system, and the rendering system, right? So it's a full chain, and we have to test everything, and we have to debug all the little things that happen. So make sure you're following Dracaria World on X, and you can ask questions of it and stuff like that as well. But there is also the white paper on the main link, so you can go and you can view. In fact, it just updated this month, I think last week, with version 3.3 draft. We changed the season configurations. So if you look at that, it was an important thing, especially right before testing. So really cool stuff. There's still a chance to get some beautiful gateway keys. They are coming. I think there are 12 left to give out to the public. So right before we are ready to roll out, we will be giving those away. So that's going to be your last chance. Make sure you know the white paper. Make sure you're following that. Make sure you're watching us here. Okay. Now I'm going to refresh. I'm going to do this as quick as I can. See, you had so much time to put in an extra question. It is shameful if you didn't get a question. Congratulations. Hey, thank you, Luna. Man, that is it. I don't know. I still think it's crazy that after 7 years, I would have more expected them to actually have me crucified or somehow thrown in a pin by now than dropping the case. Tells you something, right? First, congratulations, Joe and the Dragonchain team, on your victory. Good triumphed evil. Yes, it was David versus Goliath situation, and David won. kind of, yeah, I guess very much so, right? Question. Are you more optimistic about the future of Dragonchain and Den now that the SEC's regulatory pressure on Dragonchain has been lifted? And I assume you're talking in comparison to 2017. And so maybe this is a good indicator. Although I tell you, it hasn't hit, my sleep hasn't changed any. I got used to the boot on my neck for 7 years that I'm still feeling like it's there. Like I still don't believe that it's not there. But compared to our rollout in 2017, I mean, I'm not joking. I am so much more confident now. Why? Because I think the regulatory side, although it's still murky, shame on our congressional representatives for that. But as murky as it is, I know that not only have we defeated them already, not only is our model vindicated, you think about it, our patented tokenized micro license model, the utility of what we put out, the fact that we released it from a Fortune 10 company and waited a full year to get enough feedback in the open source world before we launched commercially, where we had it running. Now it ran when it was inside of Disney. It ran when it was out. We knew the utility was there. The fact that we won, and the fact that I've had a lot of how do I say this? A lot of experience that, and I was well experienced in the engineering world and in the small business and startup world prior, but never had I been through what I've gone through these past 7 years, obviously. So what did I learn about people, about, who to hire and who to not hire? And what did I learn about how marketing actually works, and how everyone out there on Twitter and Telegram and Facebook and anywhere else that you go will tell you how marketing works, are two different things. And, if you want to spend 20 or 40 grand a month, you can do it, but you don't need to. That's not going to get you what you're after. So, when, do understand when you say, hey, when is the marketing going to start? It's not going to start the way you think. Okay. And it's not going to be, it's not going to work the way you think. We are going to do something very different now. We are going to, we followed a lot of that advice, and some of it worked, some of it didn't. We learned. But I have found that the key to getting attention is often in the system itself. That if you have an organic design in how watch how Asylum rolls out, and think about why all the pieces are where they are. Watch how Deplatform rolls out. Particularly watch Dracaria. Watch how it rolls out, and watch why people come to it and how it gets their attention. You can look right now. There are only 600 something followers on X. And, just wait till it rolls out and see what happens when some of those algorithms kick in. And it's purely behavior tech. It's pure, it's a psychological thing. But that's how we're going to be doing marketing. And it's going to be an exclusive thing. It's not going to be something where we go begging to Deloitte or IBM for their table scraps, right? We're going to go freaking slay the beast, and we're going to have the feast. And they're going to try to figure out how we did it. So anyway, that's what's going to happen. And so yes, the difference is outstanding. I mean, I don't even know if I could put a number on it, but I would say, a million times more confident than I was in 2017. 2017, I knew we had the tech, I knew everything else, but there were so many unknowns. It was crazy, right? I had stomach issues back then because there was so much unpredictable things going on. Now I know we can do this. And the only real difference is we don't have the money, we don't have that big money in the bank that we had at the time, but that's a big difference. But I know we can get it again, right? I know we can get it, and I know we can't be stopped now, right? So extremely. All right. Dragon Knight, do you foresee any additional outlets for time utilization with any of the upcoming launches or rollouts? Okay, I'm going to give you this is a great question, right? And let's see here. Additionally, okay, so I'll answer the first one even before I look at the second one. Yes, I don't know where precisely yet. We actually have something that we're looking at. We're trying to figure out how to monetize it, but directly related to time, directly related to the token. And if you remember back then, if anybody was around when we first released Dragon Days of Slumber Score, or it was originally Dragon Slumber Score, then Dragon Days of Slumber Score, then it became Time. That was such a novel idea at the time, and we did it for we did it for a particular reason, and it was very organic. It was intended to help people understand that they need to hold their coins. They should not leave them on the exchange. Right? And there are several reasons for that, but the primary is for the good of our community. We don't want you guys to lose money. We don't want you guys to lose these utility tokens that you've built up over time by either running a node or by purchasing them, by doing whatever you did to get them. We want you to maintain that balance and grow it. And if you have your dragons in an exchange, you don't own them. You can't get that. So Time was a very interesting mechanism, and it led directly to one of the patents, which was the scalability patent related to Time. I can't remember what the patent name is. I always forget the wording on it, but essentially it is the key to flipping the world on its head in terms of scalability on a blockchain. And it's a massive differentiator. And most of the blockchain world still doesn't understand that, right? If they did, they would have their marketing people copy it. Look at a lot of the chains that did stuff with Interchain after we came out. They would copy it, but not with any substance. They would copy it in name only. We do Interchain. We're the Interchain blockchain, and I don't know. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, and not all of them are. They're not evil, and they're not. They still have quality stuff. They shouldn't be copying. So if they understood it, they would be copying the crap out of it. And we have another potential very important improvement. It's a next level concept related to that is in the works. We're just trying to figure out where to apply it to. How do we apply it? Incubator is a prime example. You saw how it was applied in the beginning. Super important. And we know we're going to do something with that. There is a white paper that was unreleased that was directly talking about that. And it was probably in 2020. I mean, it was 4 or 5 years ago anyway. And we've never been able to release it because of the SEC, because we didn't know how it would be treated. So that's on the shelf, and we're going to pull it out too and figure out how we can apply it, and we can simplify it now because we know more. Okay. Additionally, can you share and perhaps remind us all how Time was planned to be utilized with the 2018 incubator launch? So, okay, I will tell you how that it was essentially we had a few models, right? And the ones that we rolled out before everything got shut down were that there were tiered distribution of utility tokens that you had to have a certain threshold of time to get access to. So you would hold enough time. If you held enough time, you could buy in this tier. If you didn't, you'd have to wait a little bit longer, then you could buy in this tier. And essentially it was, the more time would get you cheaper utility tokens. And it was because with that time, we have the security mechanisms. We know that you've been around longer. You're not here to cause trouble or to pump and dump and all that stuff. But there are several other reasons. And there are very similar to the way that Den does its own prediction markets on every piece of content. There are some things there. And I think you should all know probably the most important thing to know about the incubator. And I'll try to finish everything up. We're almost out of time, right? The most important thing to know about the incubator is that that time directly is going to have some amount of influence, but that essentially what we want to do is set up a prediction market. Why? Because we have, let's say we have these hundreds of projects that come in. Some of them can be filtered out very programmatically. We can say, okay, they don't have the maturity level yet for a full research on that project to know is it viable, does it have a good business reason to exist, is it a good model, do they have a good team? You can evaluate a lot of that programmatically. You can even use AI and some of that now. The thing it can't give you is this up here. So from all of the community that understand these projects, have lived through them, they've seen projects that rug people. Some people, they've lost money at FTX. They'll never give money to a junior banker again, right? So those people, and with their time, will have some way to contribute to an evaluation. So essentially, they are doing work to evaluate these projects, and the projects will essentially be rewarded based upon rewarded and or helped, or whatever. It depends on what type of a contest or what type of a system we set up. It could be monetary funding. It could be technical support. It could be that we give them some of Dragonchain's available time in order to run for a period of time cheaper, before they're before they have all their subscriptions in place and things. So one way or another, though, wisdom of the crowd applied to the project selection model is where it's at. That's what we've been wanting to do since 2017. They prevented us, and I have to think a lot of it was because of the cocktail parties and the buddy network with the VCs, and the SEC was part of that. And we defeated them. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Atkins. Thank you, Hester Pierce. Thank you. Sorry, I mess up on pronunciation of the name every time. The acting chief, Ayudi, I think, something like that. Anyway, but we're out of it. We won. Not many people can say that. It's important. Anyway, so that's all the AMA. I'm going to go out quick here. Go buy some Dragonchain merch at Dragonchain.Store. Tell us what you want to see. We need to get some new merch in there, right? And the black hoodie with the with your family dragon coat of arms is there. You should go buy it. Some of the things we're probably going to discontinue and add new things soon. We haven't had time to get in there. We've been busy, right? And so it's Dragonchain.Store. Also, we do still owe the attorneys a lot of money. So if you can go to legalfund.dragonchain.com, they have actually achieved the goal of getting us free from the demons that run our country or world. So anyway, if you can go in there, you can give in crypto, you can give in dollars or euros, or you can pay Alipay. So I assume you can even pay with Chinese yuan or Japanese yen, or I'm sure you can pay with any fiat that you have, euro for sure. So if you can't do it, if you can't, it's all good, but we will always remember. And I think that's it. I went for a full hour. I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. But we will see you again soon. Okay. Make sure you tune in. It might have already started, World Blockchain Roundtable. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.